Okay, well, I think I'm going to go ahead and get started just so we can be on time. My name is Kathleen Flenniken. I want to welcome you all to this last in a series of 6 readings celebrating the publication of recent poetry books by Jack Straw Writing Program alumni. Tonight, we're featuring Lana Hechtman Ayers, Danielle Bero, Sharon Carter, Larry Crist, Jory Mickelson, and Emily Pérez. I'm sorry to say that Jamaica Baldwin will not be joining us tonight. She has other things going on in her life, but we will miss her. And I want to thank you all for coming. I want to remind you that this event is also going to be recorded for later if you want to send a link to someone else. And also to remind you to mute yourself as you enter and stay muted during the reading. I want to announce our land acknowledgement. Today we meet you from the lands of the Duwamish, Suquamish, and Muckleshoot nations and other Coast Salish peoples, past and present. The staff, board, and artists of Jack Straw Cultural Center acknowledge that we are living, creating, working, and playing on the traditional land of the first people of Seattle and the Salish Sea, and we honor them and the land itself with deep gratitude. I personally want to say thank you to Jack Straw Cultural Center and especially Joan Rabinowitz and the wonderful Levi Fuller, who is hosting our Zoom tonight. Thank you so much, Levi. Nothing could happen without Levi. I also want to thank our funders, the Seattle Office of Arts and Culture, For Culture, Washington State Arts Commission, National Endowment for the Arts, Arts Fund, Lester and Phyllis Epstein Foundation, Rainier Institute and Foundation, and individual contributors. And I have a couple of announcements about things coming up soon. The applications for our 2025 Artist Support and New Media Gallery programs are due next Monday. That's November 25th. And there's 3 events coming up. Josephine Ensign is kicking off a trio of Humanities Washington Speaker Bureau events featuring Jack Straw writers every other Tuesday starting tomorrow evening, November 19th at Jack Straw. So it's an in-person reading. On December 3rd, we'll have Putsada Riang, and on December 17th, it will be Shinyi Pai. So that's another point of pride that Jack Straw has 3 people on the Speakers Bureau this year, which is really pretty amazing. All right, when I imagined a reading series to showcase some of the recent poetry books published by Jack Straw Writers Program alumni, I didn't expect such a huge response, but I got it and I'm delighted by it. And I know that the pandemic made readings and book launches very difficult, and poets especially rely on readings and shared spaces to promote their work. This is a chance to celebrate those books again. So Joan and Levi have made this happen, and I'm grateful to them. I'm sorry we can't all be in the same room tonight or even in the same time zone, but I wanted to make sure to feature some of our Jack Straw alumni who are scattered all over the country. And so this is our last reading, and it will be on Zoom. Each poet will be reading for 10 minutes. Levi will post information about our readers' books in the chat while they read, and I encourage you, when the reading is over, to support our poets and the poetry community with book purchases. And truly, that's the best way to buy books. All right, we're going to go ahead and get going. We have 6 readers. Each reader will read in alphabetical order. And our first reading tonight is by Lana Hechtman Ayers, who was a 2009 Jack Straw writer. Lana Hechtman Ayers, MFA, has shepherded over 100 poetry volumes into print in her role as managing editor for 3 small presses. Her work appears in Rattle, The London Reader, Peregrine, and elsewhere. Lana's 9th collection, The Autobiography of Rain, was published by Fernwood Press. Please visit her at lanaayers.com. Welcome, Lana.
Thank you so much. It is an honor to read here with everyone, and I want to thank Jack Straw, especially Joan and Levi, and to Donna Miscolta, who was the curator when I participated, and to you, Kathleen, for organizing this wonderful reading. And as you said, I'll be reading from my new collection. I just wanted to hold it up because it has such a pretty face, prettier than mine. And the art is from the artist Andrea Couch. I just love the cover. So I'm going to read you a few poems. The first one is called The Starry Night. At the Museum of Modern Art in New York at 18, I discovered Vincent van Gogh's The Starry Night. I stood so close after the security guard walked by. I smelled the century between us, heard the cry of wet paint long since dried. I had no context for the tortured life of a man, a culture and religion apart, had no knowledge of the asylum from whence the scene arose. Yet in that moment, I felt Van Gogh as soul twin, one who understood the world is never still, impending darkness, and the cacophony of exploding light engaged in a fight for domination. His cypress tree, like the sword of doctrine, piercing the fabric of time. I have never been at home anywhere but in that painting, or else in the rain, where drops become my shroud, my sanctuary, song without need of lyrics. Whoever knows what they were born for is truly fortunate. I scribble in notebook after notebook, as if to clear the way by making it muddier. I want to know it matters, any of it, Earth, humanity, a few humans in particular, perhaps even myself. Alone in my apartment, looking out, the stars like drops of rain glistening on the window panes of the universe. I've come to believe, by way of pain and a singular painting, that if love is the answer, no question matters more than any other. I'm quite a fan of list poems, so you'll hear a couple of those. This one is called Reasons to Live. Because the sky never wears the same cloud hat twice. Because the black of crow feathers exudes iridescent rainbows if you pay close enough attention. Because the wind performs a trillion different arias, and you haven't heard them all yet. Because the aroma of baking bread is a hug for the inside of your body. Because the aroma of coffee is a lighthouse guiding you safely from sleep to wake. Because dipping your feet in the river on a swampy August afternoon is an ice age between your toes. Because ice cream melting on your tongue is a form of prayer. Because dogs have waggly tails and cats tiny engines of contentment. Because butterflies are the definition of anything is possible. Because the existence of tardigrades is proof nothing is impossible. Because all of art is a Ferris wheel and music a mandala of feeling. Because rain can be as soft as a whisper. Because roses are symphonies for your nose. Because fireflies are wishes for your eyes. Because the breeze on your skin tastes of adventure. Because sand is both silky and gritty, and opposites attract. Because trees stand watch. Because the ocean's pulse is ever strong. because there are guiding lights in the night sea overhead and a moonboat that steers us calmly into our dreams. Because a warm smile and a warm hug and a warm mug of comfort await you somewhere. Go there. And this poem is after the poet Annie Lightheart. Of the many things I was taught not to do, I was taught not to repeat anything I saw, not the river of night and its luminescent-eyed fish paddling above me, not the fur-covered hills like soldiers with rifles at ease, finally retreating, not the tufted skirts of sky, their billowy crinoline rustling of maple tree leaves, not the waters of the Yaquina, its surface ripples like the footprints of pale ghosts. I have lived in so many theaters of the mind and wanted to kiss and tell all the secret plot lines. But my mother warned, loquacious girls go to hell. I'm there anyway, so here's what I know. How mallards' wings flap like urgent letters fluttering their way to you. How yellow leaves flit in the breeze like the humble prayers of very young children. How earthworms sing in the rain, a nearly silent song of loneliness. And love? Well, love is the color of the sky anytime you look up. And this one is No Jars, a life story. After nearly 6 decades, I am still a colony of ants, swarming a spill of honey, gold and golden in a patch of sunlight. Still the girl who checks the mirror for ghosts, especially behind the eyes. In childhood's yard, fireflies cavorted amid the yellow puffs of forsythia. I never subjected any to jars. What I remember, icicles dangling from the eaves, dangerous enough to pierce. A small sailboat whose sea was the neighbor's concrete driveway. My hair never long enough for braids. The Vietnam War as dinner entertainment. I once hurt someone by mentioning his mother's smooth hands. Windburn stings more than sunburn. In San Juan, a flying cockroach dive-bombed my mouth. Married in a dank cave hundreds of feet below the surface of the earth. Divorced in a fluorescent courtroom on the 3rd floor. I can't recall my grandmother's voice or the last time I smiled. I'll never forget the bedroom above the restaurant where our sex smelled like stir fry. Every rainstorm is welcome. Ocean waves teach tolerance, forests patience. Angst is an umbrella in a windstorm. Even now, the best words to describe me are heartbroken, lobelia, starlit. And this last poem, not a list poem, River Light, grief and grit, and still the moon above, still the moon path flowing across the river like a raft. Save yourself in the quiet hours, one kind word at a time. Thank you.
Thank you, Lana. That was beautiful. That was Lana Hechtman Ayers. Our next reader is Danielle Bero, who was a 2018 Jack Straw writer. Danielle Bero was born in Queens to hippie parents, given a dose of Shel Silverstein, Tupac, jazz, and classic rock. Danielle is a Posse and Fulbright scholar, teacher, and co-founded a school for students in foster care. She received a master's in English education, educational leadership, and completed her MFA at the University of San Francisco. She's a Jack Straw Cultural Center Fellow and is published in New American Writing, Sinister Wisdom, Lavender Review, Quiet Lightning, Mad Woman in the Attic, Juked, and Divine Feminist and Ant Flow anthologies. Fruit Loops is Danielle's debut as a screenwriter and director. Bero is a lifelong creative traveler and educator, previously the principal of a public high school in Brooklyn, looking to bring short films, open mics, and music poetry to the forefront of everyday life. Please welcome Danielle Bero.
Hey, everybody. Thank you guys for having me. It's been quite some time since back with my Jack Straw family. And we were just asking if I'd ever lived in Seattle. And the answer is no. I just loved it so much that I drove there often from the Bay. I did have a chapbook out in 2021. I'm not really going to read too much from that. I'm going to read a lot of new stuff because I've just been writing a lot, and I hope you are too. This is called ARC. This is from my mom who can't join the Zoom because Zoom troubles. All right. I think about the mornings that it saved me. My dad's key in the front door, cat's ears perking, mom's plates on the table, sauce boiling in the pot, straining grease into a paper cup. She taught me how to boil and simmer, to sit at the table without elbows or hats, to listen, to make eye contact, to call and say thank you, to bring cake or flowers to my friend's mom's house after school or I couldn't go. She hid our Christmas presents in garbage bags in the back of our shared closet. I never peeked. She put a 20 for me under the ashtray on the desk every Monday for lunch for the week. Burger King dollar menu, a red Gatorade for practice, in another school's gym because we didn't have one. But we did have a bulletin board for our writing, and my dad was at every game in green uniform badge. Ian dropped me at the entrance to school in matching transport book bags. I had 11 strings hanging from the zipper. If you know, you know. He gave me a Mean People Suck patch. I scratched out mean with a Sharpie and drew palm trees down my arms in math class. And that was in 6th grade when we squatted on the terracotta living room floor, sewing fire patches of cardstock to a suit of armor, cuffed ankles in orange with just a scent of blue. The end of October as Joan of Arc burning at the stake. Falling asleep to mom, reading Where the Sidewalk Ends, poems to tell Nanny that I missed her and she shouldn't have smoked cigarettes anyway. With the Chrysler building in the horizon, they let me throw a letter tied to a rock into the sky for hours trying to reach heaven. Parent-teacher conference, they stood reading my essay stapled to that same bulletin board of what we wanted to be when we grew up. The usual suspects of doctors, basketball players, lawyers. I scribbled martyr. I listed the causes that I would die for. They were all on the list, but not listed. And I never knew that you would be on it too. So here I am waiting for a cardboard cutout, life-size of myself without those flames to stand in my own window and remind myself that being alone isn't a cause yet. Ringworm carving out patches of his fur. I feed that kitten another glob of food because pleading eyes always bring me to my knees. Like when you folded the hair behind my ear and told me to live in this moment. But my mind was already on tomorrow, anticipating that key in the front door, his tattered fur ear perking, and the plate set on the table. Fresh cut flowers. What kills you carves out a space that's fresh for your utopia. So I want to tell you this story that I shouldn't, about how I cut flowers at the base and ripped them from their homes to place them in a jar. In my Crown Heights apartment box that I call with sun slits, watch them slowly drain to color fade, the wet dry, the flourished dust. I want to tell you that the flower is actually every woman whose legs I've split between, picked tracks with sewing needles, unfolded frizzy braids, brushed out knots, caused knots, composed energy from 90s R&B beats. Feed, then in size and bleed, drain the colors, slow fade. And baby, just like summertime, everybody comes back just a little bit different. A Kanye clone or whatever the kids are saying these days. So I want to tell you this story that I shouldn't, just a nod to Ross Gay about gardens of hands and lips and fingers and teeth for different reasons. But I'll just settle on hello. I'll settle on the ground floor on all fours, lock all doors, settle right through the earth. fall straight out to the other side. And I'm here to tell you that the universe is not endless. No, it catches firm like a summer warm backyard trampoline with the blue trim. And it bounces me right back up through the hardwood floor and into your lap. You stroke my neck like I never left to begin with. Back on solid land that occasionally hugs you back. Warm embraces melt those slabs of isolation. So I cut you in half and I place you in an empty mason jar and set you on my Brooklyn windowsill. The particularly colorful ones I'll set in between pages of a Terrence Hayes book, press tulips deep, hoping to preserve the beauty that keeps inviting me in. Selling seashells. I am a product of my environment, and that can be said by anyone. So please make sure you know the soil from which you come, because she's risen above so many times that at this point, she just begs to arrive. To find a place for her sea legs and her winded wings, I beckon for beds to rest her soul. To tend to her aches, I run baths from my hands to soak her muscles. I've never been the muscle, more so the mouth. And yeah, I use that well deep. Occasionally, a thirsty or two will slip down and drown in minerals of magicians and mermaid women past and future. Trapped in stone wells, dipping toes in tepid waters. I'm drying off every woman that I see, holding single mothers to my chest. You've never been single a moment since your body split. I promise to never let you touch ground. I was only supposed to know these Gotham City streets, but the women in my bloodline have held bloodstrings across country lines and seas to reel in my body. I put stickers of my dead best friend in every foreign bar and beach to remind me. Birthed by concrete, raised by pigeons. Every now and again, those fake eyelashes, hummingbird on some Cinderella shit. My glass slippers never slipped. I shattered them shits and calluses grew deep. I'm just a product of my environment. Of course, I put the TV on to go to sleep. We can always check off abandonment for me. I cross my fingers that tonight she visits me in my dreams. Queens in rear views remind me royalty doesn't really mean anything when values are selfish and loyalty is only a fetish. So I'm here to be the beacon of open heart surgery. I don't even own a sleeve. Honey bears cartwheeling in front of the sun. First, I realize that my to-do list is forever. And maybe when the lights go out, everything disappears. And faces actually melt off to blank slates of rolling eye sockets. And maybe the eclipse is just code for changing out the sun. If I had your skin, I wouldn't feel this. Or maybe I would in reverse. Moon slits. I am birthed through stems of vaginal cowlicks, peddling an artist's mural. And no, this isn't a starving artist's poem. This is a reminder that we are nothing more than primal, if not artists. Amazon Prime of fat pockets and thin souls, so paint taxes, dance copays, chef tickets and tolls, and poetry the people. In nothing but tutus and smiles, the hands that spout rainbows. And I try not to fall in love with hands, because once the hands stop doing, the love usually follows suit. I've learned what you claim as your fixed identity eventually becomes your own road to ruin. Censoring these snapped necks, water lungs, burned skin, a legacy of punishment, an ancestry of cage. So you can't have what's left of me. I will salvage my own carcass and pick my own bones dry. I shout out to my grief for filling my stomach, a reminder of how hard I am capable of loving, a verb as I am doing. So this is my life and I'm reclaiming it. When I am hungry, I will eat, and when I am tired, I will sleep. When I am hungry, I will eat, and when I am tired, I will sleep. This is a dap to Audre Lorde. Of every man that I've ever revered or fell enamored with pulled wool for a living. And every woman not mentioned superseded those acknowledgments. So you can sit or you can stand, but she will receive her applause. In star-lined skies of quiet empty, filling out the long servitude. And so I search for she, and every he I find, but that's just me. All right, this is what is called lockdown. A little bit of a trigger warning here. Jiggle the locks on each door from room 103 to 202. Tap, tap, tug, peek. Crouched against walls, under tables, holding the backs of their necks with palms up, lights off. Wait, wait, wait. Footsteps, cringe, giggle, whisper, we forget the dead. We clench in between muscles, peeking through puberty, exhale, Takis in Arizona. The announcement breaks the silence over the loudspeaker. Our hands supposed to be clutching our heart with our right, but there are no flags to face anymore. Shit, we barely face each other. So maybe this was just a drill as we revise our names for teachers. Number 1, I wasn't even talking. Number 2, miss. Number 3, proposed Glock funding. Number 4, knees to the ground, drill, drill, drill. Number 5, red carton, whole milk. Number 6, off-centered worksheets from off-centered textbooks, Xerox to Blur. 7, cartoon dicks. 8, every child left behind. 9, drills. 10, scripted curriculum. 11, factory style education. 12, nurse, social worker, creative director, dietitian, mother, father, weatherman, cop killer. 13, broken desk, broken window, broken drawers, broken board. 14, to blame. 15, learning loss. 16, code blue. 17, bullet board to bulletproof until bulleted. 18, fade to black and brown. 19, vacancy. All right, this is my last one for you guys. This is called My Presidents. This is a shout out to Dinesh Smith, one of my favorite poets. Today, I elect my cat Rocco as my president. He's a little feisty Sour Patch Kid, and he will teach us all to forgive and what our blood looks like when it's bled, to bite when necessary. And I elect my niece Grace as president, who can list all nocturnal animals with no cheat sheet, and her little sister Riley Beans just spinning in circles to music like no one is watching, reminding us of who we are even when the lights are out. And the dollar pizza spots and the boroughs and the men that stand up on the train for the grandmas with the runs in their stockings and the Bibles in their purses. And the kid in the class that shares all their gum with their classmates, knowing full well they'll never return the favor and never expects them to. And every drag show host dabbing sweat drops off their beat brow and the baby dykes tucking a softie in their ill-fitted boxer briefs. These are my presidents. My presidents are in classrooms across countries, sticky smiles and Pokemon cards, school buses and caravans. My presidents can't even vote yet. But yo, when they can, voting will be like something we've never even imagined because my presidents are framed in circle, circle, dot, dot, and manhunt 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3s. My presidents are learning to share and draw and count and know that every day is a blank canvas just begging for colors to splatter finger paint. My president will always be Queens. This is the anthem, so I swear them in, hand over chest, I sing their names. I pledge your allegiance to black flags and glitter and drizzle in the summer, salmon shorts, crepuscular rays, showing us a path to a flash fiction heaven, holding hands to a republic for which it stands, 10 toes down or bended knee, the rumble of seeds that's splitting open beneath. Thank you.
That was Danielle Bero. Danielle, that was so exciting to hear your new work. I'm so glad you read new work. That was amazing. Our next reader is Sharon Carter, who was a 2003 Jack Straw writer. Originally from the UK, Sharon M. Carter retired from a career in healthcare. A fortunate recipient of a Hedgebrook residency, her poems have been published online and in many journals, including Pontoon, The Raven Chronicles, Wild Roof Journal, Quartet, and One Art. You can see more about Sharon at www.sharoncarter.com. Please welcome Sharon M. Carter.
Thank you, Kathleen, for organizing this series, and to Jack Straw. And it's delightful to be reading amongst such distinguished poets. The first poem is about my hometown and so much more. I grew up in Morecambe Bay, which is the second largest bay in the UK. The water from one spring tide is equivalent to 10 days flowing over Niagara Falls, just to give it some sense of scale. And the poem is called Non-Native. Earthworms digest my garden detritus, the same species dug in my childhood yard for bait. I learned to hook those pale tremblers myself, wait for tugs on my handheld line. We caught eels from the jetty on their journey to mate in Bermuda's Sargasso Sea. I remember the windlash off Morecambe Bay, fish heads, blood. Walking home, the catch dangled like Medusa's scalp from Dad's calloused hand. Caught in the same bay, 23 illegal Chinese cockle pickers were swallowed by incoming tides, paying off their debts. And the immigrant earthworm was called a Lolobophora. I learned that in high school. Bit of nerdy information there. And the second poem I'd like to read is, I wrote it after reading a newspaper article, and speaks for itself. It's called Un Baton Rojo. Each time she looks at the moon, it seems further away. His face stitched to the sky. Only a sliver of bone remains. The sun she lost in the desert, escaping to America. Heat and thirst drove the life from him. Sand bleaching the past. Night sky's thumbtack map, showing someone else's future. Two empty dippers, one pointing to El Norte. She searched hospital records, shelters, jails, unclaimed dead, personal effects, an unmatched pants button, sewn before he left. Proof. 2 holes, one through each side of her heart. The last poem from this book, I wrote it after a visit to the Jefferson County Museum. In the basement there's some newspapers from the 1890s, one of which is the title of the poem. And the headline was "Underworld Woman Tries Drowning in the Bay." And the second newspaper had a number of synonyms for underworld women. And I just had to write this poem. Underworld Woman Tries Drowning in the Bay, newspaper 1892. Did they think I tried drowning the way a woman might choose a new hat or coat, a brief respite from despair, from a life surrendered to men's pleasure? Did my male companions help? They watched me jump from Union Wharf, called the police. No one cared enough to drag me from the deep. Handed over retching to fellow inmates from the brothel, the green light, our home, called sluts, shacks, sugars, strumpets, slatterns, sporting girls, lost, the lot of us, stuck in endless winter. Someone fetched a physician. I survived, each year more sickly. The Marine Hospital built on the bluff, a quarter full of syphilitic men. No clinics for tramps, trollops, or tootsies. Named Nina. That was her real name. I'd like to read a poem from this book, Ekphrastic Pastiche, which came out. This wasn't the background I intended, but I'm on my phone, so this is what happens. A combination of poems and drawings. And this poem I'm going to read is called History Lesson. Flashing away here. History Lesson. On Rockaway Beach, seabirds quaver on waves' musical score. Twin sea stacks, stubborn remains of ancient colossus feet, legs and body broken by religious storms. Beach footprints in light-dazzle mist, a morning stroll taken millennia past across African plains. Sun blurs to Dandelion Head, tide invades despite King Canute's command. The full roar of history descends at our feet. That's one of many seascape and sea poems in this book, which refuses to reveal itself like a ghost back and forth, but you can look at my website. And lastly, I'd like to read 2 short poems, which are newer and from a series of kind of floral poems. And the first one, I am fortunate to live in the woods, but with that comes dead trees, and this is one of them. The title is On Losing a Douglas Fir. Rot began in the roots, the arborist declares, crept up xylem and phloem to suffocate the entire tree. His men find a squirrel's nest, galaxy of leaves halfway up, a punctured birthday balloon. Evidence woodpeckers had drilled through the firmament, searching for life. A buzz of chainsaws fills the air, scattering sawdust clouds. I wince, recall Frost's poem. The latest hillside cleared for homes. The tree trunk is lowered in columns, like dismantling the Parthenon. Earth's ruins at my feet. And the last poem is about lilac trees. There's a lot of them in England because the climate's really conducive for their growth. And it's also nostalgic. And the poem is called Childhood Lilac. Their purple blossoms grazed my childhood window. Heady perfume, excuse me, a respite from cigarette smoke, burning coal. They heralded summer's promise, weeks on local beaches, roller skates, diving boards at the outdoor swimming pool, decades long gone. The house demolished for a concrete and steel police station where numerous subjects were roughed up. Childhood's lost innocence, dancing at memory's edge. The way blossoms spoil, brown tinged, sweet smell of decay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was Sharon M. Carter. It was great to hear your poems again, Sharon. Thank you for sharing those.
Thank you.
Our next reader is Larry Crist, who is a 2013 Jack Straw writer. Larry Crist is a performing poet with 2 books, Undertow Overtures and Alibi for the Scapegoat. He lived in Seattle 25 years before moving back to his hometown, Trinidad, in Humboldt County, where he writes, does theater, and looks after his 91-year-old mother. Please welcome Larry Crist.
Hi, nice to be here. Everybody hear me okay? Okay. Mom's 92 now. Walter, where art thou? News anchor like none other, hovering at present, ill at ease, amidst the unverifiable, whoppers fantastical, in this air of mendacity, hearsay, sources, innuendo, the salacious. Walter drifts through Fox News, Newsmax, CNN, NBC, ABC, the New York Times, his own CBS, marvels over this once venerable news service. His profession, the who, what, when, where, and sometimes why tenets of accurate, responsible reportage. His cronies and he returned from war, hard-boiled newsmen, not out of modeling school. Equal time was offered for debate. An agenda did not encapsulate an entire network. Lies were lies. There were no alternative facts, no eye candy smiles from the couch, no 24/7 newsy sponsored driven opinion. Walter reported from Vietnam, and a month later, LBJ decided not to run. If I've lost Walter Cronkite, I've lost Middle America. Walter despairs over dark money polarization. In his day, this meant corruption. And that's the way it is. Walter shakes his head, returns to his boat. What is it we will all do? Thank you. What is it we will all do? What will the future hold when money is our only God, smiling down upon the well-to-do? Some are chosen while most just need. Driverless cars and artificial intelligence will hardly be the end of us. What, pray tell, will the rest of us do? Everyone is already writing poems, screenplays, keeping journals for practice and posterity, sending resumes out to fan flames of career in lieu of the new cyber-related dead-end jobs. They are all dead-end jobs. Attending workshops, chasing certificates. The writing has long been on the wall in letters 2 feet tall. What will we all be doing after everything is automated? Those skills once passed down, acquired through manufacturing. A tailor per se, a butcher or chef. What happens when the work we were told we didn't want has all gone robotic? Outsourced to distant lands, orphans, street urchins, barely paid slaves in thrall, lackeys at large suffer confusion, their necktie turned noose, under pressure, awaiting dismissal. You are redundant. We don't need you, don't want you. Layoffs here in effect. What type of news, the type of news that always makes the stock market soar? What will we all do or become? Waving our little liberal arts degrees and hawk up to our eyebrows with children we may or may not want, children that'll resent us either way, who we couldn't instruct nor inform. What will they do? Can we save them? Will they save us? Transcend this societal swing, this technological trend? This hypnotic, regressive pendulum, our monetary means to an end, imaginations minced, relentless, trampled in an avalanche of zeros and ones, parsed by fiscal sadists with an unfailing eye on quarterly reports, hedge fund derivatives, fractious percentages, leveragings, and squeezing out that last bit of sustenance from wherever necessity's mother left it. Charged for water, for air, penalized by machine for what a human requires to maintain themselves. What will we do as our situation worsens? Where will we live, streaming entertainment as newspapers die or are consolidated? As the environment erodes, turns surly, seeks revenge, populations explode, ancient pandemics rekindle, resurface, and no one can afford a doctor or medicine or whatever price the cure is set. When the food produced in our diet makes us sick and the rules have been updated in small print and the question continues to taint the air, what will we do? What will any of us do once the future has had its way with us? Thank you. And here's another new one. Remorse. Hornet's nest beneath our kitchen bay window. Perfect, off-white, cylindrical, neat, striking, symmetric. Something Frank Lloyd Wright might have designed. Hornets, bad rap. Murder hornets, bad as a hornet. Immigrants, perhaps, not their best hornets, with problems. They're bringing those problems. They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists, and some, I assume, are good hornets. But who can tell? I take my bee allergic paranoia, acting for others in the house, return with aerosol spray and a lighter, blowtorch it. It burns. One crawls out like a burning fox, like from a burning foxhole, a flame, feeble, feelers waving. The perfect little structure burns. I watch the killing evidence still in hand. I knock it down before it scars the house, then step on it to prevent it from burning the deck. Look around for the hordes I feared I'd stir up. A good-sized hornet appears, home for lunch with groceries. I brace for retribution. He hovers over the ashy remains, buzzes, listless in shock. I recall being drunk, trying to find my car in a stadium parking lot. It not being where I thought, then wandering through acres of cars looking for something familiar. Good riddance, I hear the collective added. Too drunk to find your car. Thank heavens for that. Mr. Hornet has seldom been seen of late, as have all flying entities. An orphan survivor, last of his tribe, doesn't attack me. I stand still and watch. He buzzes from where his fine house once stood and its obliterated mass remains. I can almost hear it saying, "Kill me now, please." I leave to find a dustpan. He has moved on by the time I return. I haven't seen him, bee, wasp, yellow jacket, or common housefly since summer began. Flying insects gone, no longer plowing into my windshield, collecting on the bumper. I feed the birds, crows, jays most mornings. I did find my car, more sober as a result. I drove home safely, and when I arrived, my home was there, untouched by fire. I did not consider while on my way it wouldn't be there until now. And I'll close with this. This was in is my second inclusion into the Madrona Project. I'm very proud of that. Michael Daly's magazine out there on our beautiful peninsula. This is called my stepfather's tools. Rusted, dusty, scattered, rearranged as though by deranged raccoons, strewn throughout a dark garage, a once pristine assortment picked over by necessity. Jars of screws, washers, bolts, whatnot, nuts, blades, cupboards pillaged, an ossified drill caked in a patina of neglect, scant light looms from a web-saturated window. I'm overwhelmed. 30 years since his last project. He built these sunny cabinets, their hook and eye fasteners that rattle as I look for something else I can't find. He built the sturdy bookcases that line my room, a coffee table, a stereo cabinet containing things that no longer work, old records no longer played, stereo, electronica, receivers, and so on. There's nowhere to take this stuff. I can't fix it, can't sell it. Still see him in his frumpy jump fatigues and striped train cap, consulting plans, lists, memos, a pocket full of pencils. Measuring another cut upon the circular saw, righteous as a Pomeranian, stepping out where his wife couldn't see to see him smoke his pipe, brushing off sawdust, asking if I wanted a chocolate malt, like I gave permission to quit for the day. Another 20 minutes to put it all away, dust himself off, hang his train cap up, wash his hands, put on an apron, retrieve ice cream, cups, spoons, vanilla extract, malt powder, timers, a towel worn like an ascot, turning on the blender. Thank you. Nice to see you all.
Great to hear you read, Larry. That was Larry Crist. Yeah, it's great to hear your poems, Larry. Our next reader is Jory Mickelson, who was a 2022 Jack Straw writer. Jory Mickelson, They, Them, first book is Wilderness Kingdom and was the winner of the 2020 High Plains Book Award. Their second and third books, All This Divide by Spoon Devil Press and Picturing, End of Line Press, are out in 2024. They write in the moss and mud of the Pacific Northwest. Please welcome Jory Mickelson.
Hey everyone. I'll be reading a couple of poems from my second book, All This Divide. First poem is Beautiful Country. Oh, beautiful, oh, country, I didn't want to love all your green, but I let myself. How beauty folds in on the heart before you even begin to know it. I thought, yes, I would kill the one who had tried to take this place from me, if it were mine. How I never thought I could commit to beauty with such violence, and how, given our violent histories, no naming can save us. Two heart butte, so much wonder not a single heart could hold it. But named in truth for two Blackfoot men Meriwether Lewis murdered. How the history of loss sets up a people to either forget or hold on forever. How beauty dares us to change our minds. Perhaps the earth can allow what's been placed deep to be not buried, but may be called to rest instead, and how what is resting can fold in on itself as it begins to dream of embracing you and everyone who meets at this rise. I would call this shrinking space between us home. Next poem, In Time the Snow Is Gone. Sometimes the maple, sometimes the water birches, a field of green, harebell and tulips too, the brown hair turning away from the radish greens, something like the dark left beneath the bank of spruce, the morning light coming through the window mixed with rain. She said, the kitchen is clean but could use a sprucing. Needle scent, sap, newly painted trim, the shape of planks outlined, newspaper laid to catch the paint, something pink obscuring the text. In time, the snow is gone and the grass. There's a series of poems in this book called Plunder, and they explore different historical objects, speaking about different aspects of plunder. This one's called Plunder revolver. Your right hand has grasped for me. Now the gate may not be shut. I loosen the mouth and quicken the heart in its shadowed chest. Equip you to break the best and worst. To me, there is no difference. I make well-being and create calamity. I do not cause this darkness, but draw it forth from within you. Spring the lock of desire or dread. My 6 hot stars are a constellation called surety. I am the lord of this place, an idol weeping tears of lead, the spoiled fruit of all your reaching. This next poem is called God's Judgment. What if we've gotten the judgment of God wrong all this time? Light, implacable, yes, that works its way surely across the narrow valley, illuminating every last blade of grass, every corner in the closet of every house, finally and rightly, all that sure gold light. Yet it doesn't burn, no spotlight or interrogator's lamp, no focusing lens held up to sizzle, but something more like the easy light of a barn and God's judgment less cruel than we'd imagined. Something more like each of us showing our beloved cantankerous heifer at the fair, who we have so carefully washed and trimmed, bedded in sweet straw, not set for condemnation at last, but to show off and display our hard effort, even if we, prideful, stand before the judge saying, "Look how many hours I've given to this sweet-faced, sway-hipped Guernsey before you. Doesn't her coat gleam? The liquid eyes, the transparent and lovely stretch of her ear?" It is in this light God, humbler than we'd guessed, kinder too, with both seriousness and a smile, runs his old hand along the haunches of our beasts, takes pleasure in their clean shape, and all the evil and hard words we'd fear were only our own voice in the dark stall of our heart, fed and watered with their heavy buckets of doubt. All the while, God's judgment of our work is done with gentleness, pointing out the best part, saying, "My fine animal you've brought, I bet this one took all your effort. I know, I've been there myself. God telling us all the while what a good job we've done, even if there are 1 or 2 others ahead of us in line." This next poem is Slowly Now the Shadows Lengthen, which is taken from the wildly popular hymn of 1859, Now the Shadows Slowly Lengthen. And instead of it being a religious hymn, it imagines a lover separated from their beloved by distance. A lot of this collection deals with US Western history about 150 years ago. So here we are in 1859. Soon the deer will come to the pond, the pinks of their tongues cooled by water. They strengthen me. I would call this desiring home. Let your figure tarry with me, ghost shape, in my remembering. I am lonely without your silhouette quickening the night star. You were with me when I close my eyes. Rest your head against me like a teal hen set in the sleep of her nest. Upward and trackless they go, my words parting nothing, not distance, not longing. Prayers scatter like chaff, the fade of ember rising. This isn't paradise, though it would be easy to believe in if you were beside me. A kingdom is just an emptiness unless there is another with whom to divide it. Heavy, bitter skin, wild summer plum, honeyed to its stone. Two more. This is reading the book of Isaiah while wildfires burn. It is summer and my church is made of birds, winged God in lenticular view, as if to define the shape could set a form, a boundary to the fathomless, a name made of syllables lifted to blue rudiment. The serifs were prototypes for six-legged flyers, sweat bee, salmon fly, hook-tip moth, caught in the hem, a hymn of his robe, wind greening through leaves. Then arraignment to array, to be adorned with rain. We adore water amid drought, how dryness precipitates a leaner devotion. The narrow path amid dust or needle duff, and still from May to August, the bark beetle works its faith, cloistered to the inner gallery of fur, until it too has earned its glorious crown. We want the holy heat without the flame. Isaiah warned that at the sound of the angels' voices, the threshold shook, the temples filled with smoke, that no winged thing can save, that the lengthening of days may also be the end. And I'll finish with the poem Late Morning Separation. Walking in the fields, driving the long roads to nowhere in particular, all was distance. We did not belong, as the mountain might, together to its blue. There was no going further, so we sang, teach us to care, then teach us to move on. How the mountain can unslip its centuries of hue. But now, who will remember? I held a newborn goat, all damp heat and legs. Who will I hold it up to? The fine grain light through the mist off the hay touches the dark pined islands, the ones newcomers are always mistaking at first for mountains. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Jory Mickelson. Thank you for a beautiful reading. Our last reader tonight is Emily Pérez, who is a 2013 Jackstraw writer. Emily Pérez is the author of What Flies Want, winner of the Iowa Prize, as well as House of Sugar, House of Stone. She co-edited The Long Devotion, Poets Writing Motherhood. A Canto Mundo Fellow and Ledbury critic, her work has been supported by Hedgebrook, Breadloaf, and Jackstraw. Please welcome Emily Pérez.
Thank you so much, Kathleen and Levi, and all of you for being here, and to all the excellent poets who read before me. It was such a pleasure to hear you all read, and an honor to read with you. The book that I'm reading from, What Flies Want, if you can see it on your screen, it's a dark book. I wrote many of these poems between 2016 and 2018. My children were young, and it was the Me Too era and the first Trump era, and I was watching my boys learn about gender and violence. And we'd moved to Colorado, a gun state. I teach just a few miles away from Columbine High School, from the Aurora Theater, from the STEM Highlands Ranch High School. I have colleagues who've been in every single one of those shootings. Meanwhile, we were dealing with several mental health crises in my family. And so this book came out of all of that time and questions I was asking myself. I just want to say the people you will hear about in this book, well, maybe not all of them. I'll say my family is doing well, and I dedicate this book to SSRIs and to all the therapists who have helped us. The first poem I'm going to read is a found poem in the words of my children, and it's called Battle Song. Battle Song, to be performed as a trio with a silent drone. Mom, pretend this is a base. Pretend we are in training. Pretend we are on grass duty, on rock duty, on hills. Pretend you cannot see us. Pretend that these are real guns. Pretend that we won't shoot them. Pretend that we don't hear you when you say to wait, tell us to stop. Please tell us to stop. Pretend we are invisible. Pretend that we are bad guys. Good, no, guys just starting training. Pretend the world's at war, War 1, War 2, War 10. Pretend that we aren't scared. Pretend that we can stop when it gets dark. Pretend that we aren't lambs, that we aren't armed, that we are boys becoming men, that we are boys just growing up. All right, the second poem I'll read refers to an event that happened in 2019, the 20th anniversary of the Columbine shooting. A young woman from Florida who was obsessed with this event, bought a ticket to Colorado, and the FBI had been watching her. And so all of the schools in the Front Range were shut down for a day while they searched for her. This poem is called "Today I Wonder What If No One Finds Her." Today, a grown girl in the woods up the hill from Columbine. Today, a grown girl, head filled up by Columbine. Yesterday, a one-way fare, a flight across the nation. The day before, a one-way fare. The day before, a one-way fare. Every day, she plans a trip to Columbine, alerting all the FBI. I'd sacrifice my privacy. I'd sacrifice my right to self-defense. I'd sacrifice my right to a militia. Today, a grown girl wearing black and camouflage. One rumor says she's naked. Today, will we be hostage to a corpse, a girl with arms, a girl with rights to bear those arms? Today, a manhunt for a teenage girl. Today, a teenage girl becomes a man who's hunted, maybe with a wild look, maybe quiet in the back as her classmates knew her. Today, 400,000 kids stayed home and mine were fine. Today, I told them someone wanted to hurt schools and the police and principal had talked and we were safe at home. Today, their father told them crazy woman and pump action shotgun. Today, both kids refused to go run errands. Today, they cried when I said, stop acting crazy. Today, they played an online game with guns. Today was like a snow day, only anxious and no snuggles. Today, an Uber driver took her up the mountain road. The news report says she hiked through feet and feet of snow. Today, my yoga teacher says, where there is chaos, there's a lesson. Today, I tell my older son that everything's okay, and he replies, there is no time, that everything's okay. Today, they find her shotgunned near a copse. Today, a girl gone in a field. I wonder about what shoes she wore and if her feet felt cold. One day, not far away, the snow will melt to Columbines. This next poem is called Out of the Wood. Out of the woodwork, the girls at work in the woods, whittling, whiling, woodworking girls with awls, with circular saws, all at work like good girls should, worked over, worked on, worked upon, notched and scored with a miter's cross cuts, laced and latticed, locked up, all that good girls withstood. Out of wood walked a girl, polished and waxed, lemon-scented, scoured smooth, a girl who reflected your face in her shine, a girl well-designed, sturdy and fine, sealed shut like a wardrobe, its woodwork inscribed with girls in the woods. All right, and I'll finish with just two more poems. One of these is I'll just say when my youngest child was much younger, he really, really loved underwear. Now I think he's just, sort of respects underwear the way people do, but he used to really, really love underwear and would wear several pairs at a time. And he was very jealous when he learned that I got to wear two different kinds of underwear each day. And this poem is called Tonight When They Try On My Bra. The little one crushes the cups, testing their air as if the garment will fill with fantasy. He wants the straps and fastenings. He wants the silky armor girding his 6-year-old skin. His chest shimmers with laughter. Their father breathing down the stairs. I shout a half-truth to the stairwell before he's in the door. I'm half sure of what he'll do. Some men would meet this sight with fists, others with shame. He cocks half a smile as if to say, what did he expect, leaving his boys alone with such a woman? And I'll just read one more. It's a poem called I Have Plenty. I have a house full of sons. I have a home full of swords. I have real armor and fake vulnerability. I have my work cut out and my art cut out and my secret cutout heart in the shape of a string of hand-clasped paper dolls folded over each other, waiting. I have pleasures, outright admiration for words. I have sunlight dappling an unshakable sense of my own self-worth that sprang from my father's selfishness, my mother's bow down. I have a dearth of role models, but love and belief in my boundaries inviolable. My voice can be powerful. I have things to unlearn. I have wealth unearned. I have privilege to spare. I have breathable air, not sure for how long, given how I contribute to destruction of earth. I have love for all people, except I have foes. I have questions. I have doubts in the reach of my arms and my self-righteousness. I have a body I alternatively praise and despise. Do I see through my needs? Am I desiring or just aiming as always to please? Do I find myself requiring? No, I have plenty. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Emily Pérez. Thank you. That was beautiful. I am just so delighted by our evening tonight, the variety of readers and the work that you're doing. This is really exactly what I had in mind when I put this series together. So I'm just delighted. I want to thank again our readers, Lana Hechtman Ayers, Danielle Bero, Sharon Carter, Larry Crist, Jory Mickelson, and Emily Pérez. I want to say thank you to Levi Fuller for being our moderator tonight and for just being a general wonderful person. I want to thank Jack Straw Cultural Center, for whom none of this would be possible without them. And I want to thank you all for coming. So good night. Great to see you all.